card. I want to start with Dylan Harper, who we've talked on this very program multiple times in the last couple of weeks. We expect him to end up at Rutgers. Ron Harper Jr.'s little brother, the number one player in his class in college basketball. He would join Ace Bailey, the number 2 player in his class in Rutgers. Rutgers already has Ace Bailey. There's some rumblings on Dylan Harper, and it's been presumed for years that he was just going to end up at Rutgers. There was the picture we've talked about where he went on his Indiana visit and he basically trolled Indiana and did the Ron Harper Jr. Shout out to his brother. But now we're getting like Trilly Donovan tweets that are alluding to the fact that the baddest man with the bags in this sport, in any sport, may be trying to swing Dylan Harper to become a Kansas commit. That's Bill Self, who I'm talking about. Clearly, as far as I know from the research I did this morning, Dylan Harper does not have an official visit set up to Kansas. Yet is probably the word you should add to that sentence. Do you think Kansas has a real shot at stealing Dylan Harper?
Yeah, 100%. And I want to backtrack my life real quick here. Anyone who knows me, either online, offline, has always known me to be the guy that says the phrase. I have like some sports principles, like some sports pillars that I'm set up on. And it's mainly about like people I don't doubt or people I don't like bet against, kind of. Like I'm never going to bet against or doubt LeBron James. I'm never going to bet or doubt against Tom Brady. And, you know, you throw like the Bama's of the world into that fold. One of the pillars in that is betting against Bill Self. Literally, there's not a scarier man in college basketball because of how great of a coach he is and the resources that he has. So, you know, even if you're a Rutgers fan, you can say what you want about having that connection. And, you know, if I'm a betting man, which I am, I would still bet that Dylan Harper ends up at Rutgers. I still believe that. I truly do. But you'd be naive if you didn't have a thought in the back of your head that if Bill Self gets Dylan Harper on campus, he doesn't leave there being like, shit, I love Kansas. I love Bill Self. And yeah, I love Pikel and I love my brother and family is everything. But damn, like this is next level. And you know, obviously Kansas is gonna have a good recruiting class around him. They'll have good players coming back. Bill Self will work the portal. He'll be playing in Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Like respect to the rack, but when you talk about great home court advantages, like Fog Allen Fieldhouse is above the rack in my eyes. I'm sorry, it just is. I think that's kind of what it is. But I'd still put it like, and this is just me, you know, not a mad podcast, not a recruiting insider. This is just my own gut feeling, is that it's still probably like 85 to 90% of Rutgers. But you know, Bill Self, you never want to count that man out. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and I think if it's truly 85-15, 85 being Rutgers, 15 being Kansas, then it's more like 60-40, because if Bill Self backdoors his way to 15%, that's really 40% because it's Bill Self. Like there is no 15.
The Self bump.
There is no 15% when Bill Self enters the recruitment. So a couple of things for me. We did the clip last week where I basically said, am I missing something on Pikel? And I meant that entirely from a place of like, I can't believe players think this guy is like a cool hang. Like he's the guy they want to hang out with. Maybe could you frame that as like, oh, that was inappropriate of me to say? Sure. Also not the first time we've said something inappropriate on the show. Like we're a half comedy podcast. So I get like people that haven't seen us probably being like, who's this media guy critiquing Steve Pikel's personality? But that was meant very much from like I want to learn what is cool about Steve Pikel, because we just haven't gotten the impression that he's like the most enthusiastic guy from Big Ten Media Day. And man, the wave of Rutgers response to us on like Pikel is the greatest human being ever. I'm buying that now that I've seen how many people have been like, once you get in a room with Pikel, you're going to understand what we're talking about. Clearly there's something that I've been missing as an outsider on how great of a person Steve Pikel is, and that shines through. With that said, I think Pikel can still win this recruitment. He's probably one of the only guys on earth right now that I think could go toe to toe with Bill Self. Now, Pikel has a leg up because, again, this is a legacy recruitment, a sibling of one of the greatest players in recent Rutgers history. So if this was like, if they were going toe to toe for Isaiah Collier, a year ago, and I've been told it's between Rutgers and Kansas. Sorry, Steve Peichel, but I'm gonna push all my chips on Bill Self in that spot. With Dylan Harper, I still think this should be a basically taken as Rutgers until proven wrong. And that's not me doubting Bill Self. I do think it was hilarious that you just said you would never bet against Bill Self. But am I a betting man? Yeah, and I'd still bet Rutgers. Like by default, that means you're betting against Bill Self.
I'm not gonna say you said it, not me.
I just think it's notable that all the smoke here, like the Trilly tweet, and a couple of people had like articles written, like I think some writers for 24/7, the Kansas site had like, is Kansas back in play for Dylan Harper? And if you read the articles, if you read all the reporting that's been done in the last 5 days on this, there's nothing of substance at all other than don't be surprised if Bill Self weasels his way back in. Like if there was actually traction here, in my opinion, one, there would be an official visit set, or there would be a date on the calendar that's like, okay, Dylan Harper's going to Kansas. Or two, there would be something substantial that Bill Self has done that's not just like, oh, Trilly tweeted, keep an eye on Bill Self. Like, I don't think this is anything. And even if it was something, I would lean towards the side where Dylan Harper is just like going to go do his visits and he's going to troll everyone the way he trolled Indiana. Like if I'm Dylan Harper, why would I not take a trip to Lawrence and have everyone in that gym wearing Dylan Harper shirts, get all the free gear? You're a big proponent of get the free stuff and then go home and commit to Rutgers the next day and be with my bro. Like that's definitely the outcome here, right?
It is until you get in Bill Self's aura ring. You get sucked into that gravity that surrounds that man, and then you're there. I will say this though, another angle, quick one. As a Big Ten fan, as a Michigan State fan, I guess I'll say this. Would it be good for the conference? Yes, but also, who are we kidding? If Dylan Harper could not play in the Big Ten and not, basically murder my team for the next 4 years, I'd be completely okay with that. And I also think if Dylan Harper were to go to Kansas, I think it might also create somewhat of a domino effect. Like maybe Ace Bailey has second thoughts. Maybe guys like Liam McNeely want to go to Kansas instead of, I think right now, one of the presumed leaders is actually Indiana. So if we can get him out of the Big Ten too, completely fine with that. Enjoy him in Lawrence.
So now you want to eviscerate Steve Pikel's program. We've spent weeks praising him and saying we love him, and now
I love him, but if there's a world where it's just Michigan State in the Big Ten and everybody else is Minnesota, I want that.
Also, Dylan Harper, noted 4-year guy. He's going to torture Michigan State for 4 years at Rutgers.
Okay. That's what you poke at? That's what you pick up out of that?
I'm not poking it. You're like, if he could get out of the Big Ten for 4 years, like he's going to be there for 3 months, man. You're going to see him once, maybe. And Michigan State doesn't even have to go to the RAC. When Michigan State's supposed to go to the RAC, they play in Madison Square Garden because, I don't know, you always have the hardest schedule in the country, but somehow you're getting neutral instead of the RAC. So, excuse me.
Excuse you.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
I think this still ends at Rutgers, and I hope he ends up at Rutgers, even if that means Rutgers beats my team twice in a year. I want to see good Rutgers, and I think we're going to see good Rutgers.